And so they're the ones to blame for whatever happening there, not us, who provided more aid than anybody else.
Let me just try one more time.
Africa,
are you standing
and virtually
by
every part of the world?
Are you standing by your contention that
no one has died because the United States has cut aid? No. People have died because gangs steal the aid. People have died because the distributors of aid have not done well. People have died because other countries haven't stepped up. But the United States has saved more lives and continues to save more lives than any other country in the world. And we're going to continue to do it, but we're going to do it the right way and in a responsible way. We're not going to continue to pour billions of dollars out the door of American taxpayer funds for programs that don't work and in some cases were flat out corrupt.
He thought he had a gotcha, then got shut down in real time. George Stephanopoulos comes in hot, trying to pin deaths overseas on U.S. aid cuts. But Marco Rubio doesn't play defense. He shuts it down, fast. Calls the memo an opinion. Rejects the premise. And flips the blame. Says it's not America. It's war zones like Sudan, gang violence in Haiti, and broken systems that never delivered aid in the first place. And when the pressure ramps up, Rubio doubles down. No retreat. No apology. Because this wasn't just an interview. It was a full-on collision between media narrative and policy reality. Let's dive in.
It's been more than a month since President Trump met with President Putin in Alaska. Since then, Putin has intensified his attacks on Ukraine. He's crossed into NATO airspace as well. The president has repeatedly threatened to take action, but repeatedly backed off those threats against President Putin. How much more time is he going to give him?
Well, I think he has taken action. So, for example, we've imposed additional tariffs on India, and they're a very close partner of ours, and we had meetings with them again yesterday, and it has to do with their purchase of Russian oil. In addition, we've worked very hard on and continue to work and made a lot of progress. Well, look, you look at the bill that Congress was considering, and on putting forward the Lindsey Graham bill, that bill was about tariffs on India and China for the purchase of oil and gas from Russia. I think the president has also called on Europe to step up to the plate. And, there are countries in Europe that are still buying massive amounts of natural gas and oil from Russia, in essence, directly fueling the war effort. The president has also instructed us, and we've made a lot of progress working on security guarantees. Shortly after the Alaska meeting, all of these leaders from Europe came to Washington. We agreed to work on security guarantees for the future of Ukraine after the end of this conflict. We've made a tremendous amount of progress in creating the outlines for that, and that's going to be essential in any negotiated end to the war. It doesn't appear to be
making any difference with President Putin.
Well, I think that's right, in the sense that we continue to see the war being carried out, by the way, by both sides. The Ukrainians, to their credit, have also inflicted substantial damage on the Russians. So as an example, 20% of Russian refining capacity has been taken offline because of Ukrainian strikes. And I think the Ukrainians have been very brave and worked and done incredible things despite being a smaller country here, not just in defending their country, but in imposing costs on Russians. Look, at the end of the day, the only leader in the world that everyone agrees to this, no one did, and this is why Zelensky keeps wanting to meet with him and all the European leaders want to meet with him, is President Trump. He's the only one that can talk to both sides and try to make progress. He has dedicated a lot of time and energy to it. We hope to achieve it. He has expressed his deep disappointment at the direction this continues to go. He is well aware at this point of what our options are under his current authorities to impose more costs on Russia if they don't agree to peace. And that moment may arrive, but I hope it doesn't arrive, because I hope we still have time to convince them to end this war. The impact it's having, it's a stupid war. It really is. I mean, the Russians in July lost 20,000 soldiers were killed in action. 20,000, way out of ratio with what Ukraine has lost, and a staggering number. This war needs to end. The president can do everything he can to end it, but at some point he'll have to take action if it doesn't.
You and others in the administration have said several times that no one has died because of the administration's cuts to humanitarian aid and the shuttering the Agency for International Development. A host of international aid organizations have disputed that. They've detailed how many lives have been lost. Also, Nick Kristof of the New York Times had an extensive piece in the New York Times on Sunday, firsthand reporting on the deaths being caused by the cuts in aid. And he went on to say this. I want to show a tweet he put up. He said, "I also obtained an internal Trump administration memo stating that the cost of shutting down USAID is $6.4 billion over 2 years. That sum could save more than 1 million children's lives. Instead, it is being spent to shut down programs that saves lives." How do you account for that? How do you respond?
Well, that wasn't a memo. That was somebody who wrote an email giving their opinion internally. That is not an official document. That's someone who didn't agree with our decision. This is not about cutting aid. We're going to do aid.
It does cost money to shut down AID, doesn't it? That's a fact.
No, we didn't shut it down. We moved, well, a couple things. We shut down AID because it was a dysfunctional organization. We moved it under the State Department. Number two, we are going to do more foreign aid than any country in the world. We're going to do more than anyone in the world, again, this year. But we're going to do it the right way. We're going to do it holistically. We're going to do it as part of an integrated foreign policy. We are not going to fund an NGO industrial complex that built itself up, that was taking a substantial percentage of the money and not going directly to the recipients. It was going to these organizations that had multi-billion-dollar projects and budgets. We're not going to continue to do it that way. We are going to provide aid. We're providing aid now. We just rolled out our new initiative on health. It's going to be much more successful and much more effective. We're going to enter into direct compacts with the countries. We're going to empower our embassies and our ambassadors to direct which projects we fund and how much money countries are going to be receiving. So we are restructuring the way we do aid. It's going to be far more effective, and it's going to be integrated into our holistic foreign policy.
That's all in the future. But are you standing by that comment? You're saying that no one has died?
No, it's happening now. That's not in the future.
No one has
It's happening
died
now.
Because of the aid cuts? Are all those aid organizations
That's
lying?
ridiculous. Well, first of all, then they died because England didn't give enough money, or Canada didn't give more, or China did. Let's blame the other countries that don't do any foreign aid. How about China? I mean, China's the second largest economy in the world. They don't give money to these projects.
So you're no longer
did people
disputing
die
that the
because
aid
China
cuts have
didn't give
cost
more
people's
money?
lives. You're no longer disputing that.
It didn't. I think anybody who tells you that somehow it's the United States, if we cut $1, somehow we're responsible for some horrific thing that's going on in the world is just not true. Beyond that, I would say that in some of these places
well, if
that
dollar's
they cite,
not going
the
to
reason why the
feeding
aid
someone
didn't
in
get
medicine,
there,
someone's going to die,
George,
aren't
one of the
they?
reasons why some of these places didn't get the aid is not because we cut the aid. It's because there's a war going on and the aid never got to the people. So in Sudan, for example, it's not just a humanitarian catastrophe, it's a war zone. Okay, the aid is stolen, the aid is impeded. In fact, they use aid as a tool against the people, and so blocking aid is a tool and an arm of war. So in some of these places, the reason why the aid isn't getting there is it can't be distributed. Look at Haiti. One of the reasons why aid can't be distributed in Haiti is you can send all the aid in the world you want. It gets hijacked and stolen by criminal gangs that control the country. And so they're the ones to blame for whatever happening there, not us, who provided more aid than anybody else.
Let me just try
Haiti,
one more
in
time.
Africa,
Are you standing
in virtually
by
every part of the world?
Are you standing by your contention that
no one has died
died
because the United States has cut aid? No. People have died because gangs steal the aid. People have died because the distributors of aid have not done well. People have died because other countries haven't stepped up. But the United States has saved more lives and continues to save more lives than any other country in the world. And we're going to continue to do it, but we're going to do it the right way and in a responsible way. We're not going to continue to pour billions of dollars out the door of American taxpayer funds for programs that don't work and in some cases were flat out corrupt.
What you just watched was a straight-up clash over who's responsible when aid fails. George Stephanopoulos pushed a clear line. U.S. aid cuts are costing lives, and the administration should own that. But Marco Rubio rejected it completely. He challenges the evidence, calling the memo an opinion, not proof. Then shifts the blame, pointing to war zones like Sudan and instability in Haiti, where aid often never reaches people. And then comes the bigger argument. Rubio says this isn't about cutting aid. It's about fixing a broken system. Less money to large NGOs. More direct control through U.S. channels. More focus on results. That's the real divide. One side says cutting aid equals suffering. The other says the old system was wasteful, and reform saves more lives long term. And here's the twist. This wasn't just about policy. It was about control of the narrative. Because once Rubio refused the premise, the entire argument shifted. And the gotcha moment disappeared. What's left? A bigger question. Is the U.S. responsible for outcomes overseas, or just its own actions? Like, comment, share, and subscribe. No spin. No fluff. Just the agenda.